John Reed with Liz Miller. Liz, what did we learn this week?
Marketing's still a thing?
Really? It hasn't been automated out of existence?
No, it hasn't been automated out of existence. I think the interesting thing that we've been seeing this week is an understanding that none of this is actually easy, especially when it comes to the migration path that most of us have been on for any type of marketing automation tool. And if you're looking at 2025 in general, it's the summer of marketing, right? You have new entrants, you have brand new redos, like Unica has come out with a brand new platform, microservices, AI, the whole shebang. You see the same thing for Salesforce. We see the same thing from Adobe. But we hear the same thing from customers time and time again. Moving to these new, completely reimagined platforms is never as easy as it seems or as it feels. But what we've seen this week and what we saw certainly today was that there is a glide path here at Salesforce that Salesforce has very intentionally thought about to not look at. You like that? Yeah, where they're looking at it not from a point of migration, but they're looking at a point of what they refer to as convergence. And most of the time in the world of technology, we see convergence as a bad thing because it's all the technologies coming and crashing together. We don't know what's happening. Is it going to be doomed? Is something going to die? But I think in this case, it's a real admission of, you know what? Not everything has to be in the same place we always thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. So they've rebuilt in a microservices architecture. They're giving that expectation and understanding that, yes, there is going to have to be some convergence of systems, of data, of processes all into one place. And that's what they're really looking at the Salesforce platform with Marketing Cloud Next on top of that. So I think it's a real admission of, hey, there might be some lift. There's certainly going to have to be some shift, but we actually have a plan for that, which was nice to see.
Two other things that caught my eye. One was, the end of no reply marketing, right?
Yeah.
An interesting challenge because if you're going to listen to me now, you better get it right. You better friggin' get it right.
And I think it also assumes that every brand wants to have a conversation.
Right.
I think there is a very real statement that not every brand wants to have a conversation with their customer. Right. There is a reason why those emails were called very intentionally when they set up those email accounts, do not reply.
Yeah.
Stating that there is another email or another mechanism or another way that they would like for you to connect with their brand. That might be through service. That might be through an email that service oversees. So that concept of a do not reply email, while it looks abhorrent, and it really does send the wrong perceptual message, there is usually a reason why that's set up. Listen, when I was in that role, when I was having to set up those emails, when I was having to set up not only the email architecture, but trying to understand where and how those lines of communications were going to come in and out of an organization, it could be really hard because oftentimes you have different emails that end up being different buckets for different conversations. And if you are just blasting out an announcement of, hey guys, there's a sale, that might not be the time or the place that you necessarily want to have that conversation. I think
pointing out though that does raise the stakes though when you...
It absolutely raises the stakes.
Road, right?
It absolutely raises the stakes because if you are now going to then say, no, every message, every connection, every engagement, anytime we speak to anyone outside of our organization is an invitation for conversation as opposed to a message, you are setting up a completely different expectation and dynamic. So you better have the things in place and you better have the people ready to be able to have those conversations when the person at the other end of that dynamic wants to speak to another human. The assumption here is that the human on the other side of that conversation will always be okay with an automated process. Well, they might not be, right? So I think for organizations, this is a conversation that at a strategic level, they need to have, right? That do not email, do not reply. That has to be part of a strategy, not just a knee-jerk reaction because I implemented technology. So this goes back to that fundamental difference that I think we've always talked about, right? Which is that, are you talking about just slapping in CRM? Are you talking about just slapping in marketing automation? Or have you had a strategic conversation about what it means to automate the work of marketing? Those are two different conversations. And the conversation about the strategy needs to happen before you slapped something down.
Speaking of which, Marketing Cloud is really 9 acquired products. So is Salesforce now in a position to say that this is sorted and we can now deliver on this wonderful integrated data experience?
Those are two different statements.
Oh, okay. All right.
Right? Those are two different comments. Can we deliver on an integrated marketing platform experience? And can we deliver on an integrated marketing and data experience? Are, in fairness, two different questions, right? I think that, to Salesforce's credit, they really announced that they were taking all of their acquisitions and moving all of Marketing Cloud onto platform at Dreamforce. The challenge that we ran into, and I think the challenge that everyone realized was very real, but I don't think Salesforce was quite ready to admit it or have a plan to answer it, was putting all of Marketing Cloud onto platform wasn't going to be enough. Having it available in a modern architecture in a microservices environment, having that be essentially a composable architecture that could bubble up and level up on any presentation layer, that was a heavy lift because of those 9 acquired products, right? You had to take the best of the best, extrapolate the code, make sure it's very much like what Oracle had to do, right? So Oracle, when they went through this around the same time frame, to be honest with you, had to take, okay, we've got Eloqua, we've got responses, we've got all these different things. So we have to be able to take the best of the best, understand what the work of modern marketing is, and then that's how we're going to release it as Fusion Marketing, as Fusion Sales, right? Same thing that Oracle did. With Salesforce, the complexity here is that while all of that was happening, you had these 2 really robust clouds of Sales and Service Cloud, showing those 2 parts of the organization what was in the world of possible in modern omni-channel communications. So here's your mobile. Yes, you have a bot. Here, you have this great website. Oh yeah, and by the way, you can email things. Meanwhile, Marketing Cloud was like, wait, where does Datarama go? So you still had that scenario. So I think that they have really taken that hard step. It was the step they had to take. They would not have been able to move forward had they not done it. It's an awful lot of hard sausage making. But I think the reality was they also had a lot of customers who are legacy exact target customers. What do? Right? They've been cruising along, basically like, I just want to update what I've got since like 2013, right? So how do you bring them along for the ride? It's the same thing we've seen with SAP. It's the same thing. It's the same thing we've seen now. So now we get to officially say, okay, does Salesforce have legacy infrastructure? Does Salesforce have that legacy that they have to pull into that modern environment? The answer, of course, is yes. Marketing Cloud has been that example. So I think that yes, they can deliver it. They can deliver the marketing platform. The part of the question that I think that customers are starting to ask, and they are having real and very realistic issues with, is about how does data come into Data Cloud? How do I move things that might necessarily not be able to be moved? How do I use multiple data sources that aren't just Data Cloud?
I thought Zero Copy was going to solve that. I'm so confused. Help me, Liz.
Oh, yeah, Zero Copy. Zero Copy is a mechanism. Was a promise. It's a data motion charge. It was never going to be a
AI
silver bullet.
utopia, isn't it?
Right. Well, I mean, that's as much as like saying, well, all of your communications and engagement are going to be solved because isn't AI a silver bullet utopia?
Yeah.
Remember, because if you remember this progression, master data management was supposed to solve the big data problem that then created dirty and dark data, which was the reason why we couldn't have structured and unstructured data in the same place. Which we have been perpetrating this boogeyman and all of the multi-million-dollar solutions to go capture the boogeyman for decades now. And as a marketer, it's right up there with trying to say to me, now we can do personalization.
Yep.
Now that I have insert sassy letters here, now that I have a CDP, now that I have it, right?
I will say that every customer session I crashed, the data ones were incredibly well attended and the AI sessions turned into data sessions.
Right. Because that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Here's the reality. And this is not a knock on Salesforce. This is what I'm hearing at every single vendor we go to. Creating these agents is amazingly easy, right? It is.
Hey, I did it yesterday, so that tells you something.
It is exponentially easier to do this today thanks to the natural language interface, thanks to the language understanding, and thanks to the reasoning engines that are behind all of this, right? It is incredibly easy to build an agent that gets to, or at least near enough to, the business goal you had in mind when you were dreaming up the agent and talking to the app about it. That is the great part. The part that has always been the problem and continues to be the problem is the data. Because one minute you have too much of it because you can't organize it. The next minute you don't have enough of it. You've run out of it because you've used all of that data to train this thing. And now this thing needs more data. So now I don't have enough of it. So what do? I make synthetic data. Well, how do you make synthetic data? You make synthetic data by training it off of that data over there. But you needed different data. You didn't need more of the same data. I needed different data. So it's this never-ending perpetual cycle. The reality is, though, that in an effort to create a nirvana and utopia around data, a lot of organizations simply stop moving. And they say, okay, well then, we're not going to do anything until we can get to the perfect data, until we can perfect and finally solve the data problem. The hard truth is you're not going to solve that problem, right, but you still have to get started. So how do you do that? The answer for a lot of organizations is going to be you find the easiest way to build the easiest agent that provides an early use hit, that provides that efficiency play that you can move to, but don't stop there is the advice, right? So it's yes, you get started where you stand, but don't let that be where you stay. Because yes, you've reached incremental efficiency because you saved time, you didn't have to add to headcount, blah, blah, blah. The same thing we've been talking about on AI for quite some time.
I talked to a customer yesterday who used early agent successes to build momentum to put in Data Cloud, right? So they didn't have the momentum before. So this is sort of a key that we've been trying to friggin' figure out for years on these data products is how do you get point to the executives and say, hey, remember this thing 100%. We just did? Now we can do that.
100%. But the reality is if your goal is to make it so you don't have to hire as many people as you have today, that is where your efficiency play will stop.
Right.
However, if you look at that as the use case to build momentum, because the next stage that you want to get to is that, yes, I have efficiency. Now I have to have velocity. Right. Efficiency can't be the destination. You have to then start to look at velocity. And if you start to look at velocity, then you can start to define, okay, where do I need that velocity to be? Do I need it in content creation? Most people don't. Do I need it in decisioning? Most people do. So how do I if you're looking at decision velocity, okay, what do I need to do? Now that I have efficiency, what do I need to do so that my efficient people can now even make more decisions faster?
So you can use AI to build a brilliant company that puts customers first, or you can use AI to build a mechanistic, soulless company that you hollow out from the inside.
Right.
Sounds awesome.
Welcome to tomorrow.
The choice is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Why You Talk with Constellation, Liz Miller, live from Salesforce Connections, Chicago. Thank you, Liz.
Of course, anytime, John.